name Jaguar has been synonymous with speed, beauty, sex, and unreliability. It's run the gamut, but it's produced some of the most beautiful and sought-after roadsters ever made. I'm Michelle Rahal with the Drive Channel and thedrivechannel.com. In 1936 through 1940, Swallow Sidecars produced a car that's become legendary among collectors. It's the SS100. That car started the long line of Jaguar Roadsters we still see today. The SS name was dropped in favor of Jaguar due to the negative feelings about the SS name. It was just too close to the war to forget the German Special Fighting Unit. The SS100 had that look and feel of a road-going car that fit the category of I am somebody. After much work and design, in 1948, the Jaguar XK120 was born. The Jaguar XK120 was different in every way from the SS100, and originally in 1948, only 242 were built in all aluminum bodies. I've been lucky enough to see one. The remainder of the production run was made in steel body and aluminum bonnet and hood. The car was a huge success and could be had in a special model called the XK120MC. Now, this car had the famous C-type head, and it was a hit in both the Roadster version and the slightly more elegant drop head version. The hardtop or the fixed head coupe didn't sell as well. This model survived from 1948 to 1954. In 1954, the Jaguar XK140 was born. This car was even more refined and faster in certain trim than the 120. This car was also offered in the U.S. as a special MC version. The power plant that Jaguar developed was a straight inline six-cylinder dual overhead cam engine that lasted in production all the way until the 1980s. Now, I've built several dozen of these engines, and I can attest to the beauty of the design. From 1957 to 1961, the XK150 took center stage for Jaguar, and it produced a more luxurious evolution of these open cockpit, high-fendered cars. It was bigger, wider, more refined, had more creature comforts than the previous 120 and the 140, but it didn't have the design elements as sharply defined. Oddly enough, the XK150 is one of the more collectible of the Jaguar historical line. Prior to phasing out the 140, in 1955, a racing car was built by Jaguar to compete against Ferrari in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It was named the XKD, or the D-Type. This car was revolutionary, with disc brakes, an all-aluminum body, and a monocoque chassis. This was a first on racing cars, and this car proved to be a formidable racer. In 1957, it took 5 of the 6 top spots in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. My family owned number 58 of the 67 supposedly produced. The remaining chassis were converted to street cars, and only 16 of them were built. It was the XKSS. Steve McQueen was the owner of one of those until he died. What came after these historic giants was the world-famous E-Type or XKE, whichever term suits you the most. But the fact is, it was and still is one of the most beautiful cars ever made. Even the opinionated Enzo Ferrari said, quote, "This is the most beautiful car ever built," unquote. Well, getting him to say anything nice about a competitor tells you how influential this car was on design that survives to this day. It first saw daylight in 1961 and was produced in various stages from the Type 1 through the Type 3, which was a 12-cylinder facsimile of the original, but still a smooth and a powerful car nonetheless. No matter what reputation that Jaguar has had as unreliable in its earlier days, takes nothing away from the fact that it proudly stands next to Ferrari, at least in the early days, as one of the most influential car lines ever built. Coming up, we're also going to have a treat for you as an addendum to this episode where we film a ground-up restoration of an XK140. The gorgeous engine, body, and the frame, all courtesy of one of the masters, Phil Rockwell of Fine Cars. I'm Michelle Rahal for the Drive Channel and thedrivechannel.com. Our next episode, the Chevy Camaro convertible and 2 new cars from GM built on that platform.